2, 1, you're live.
Welcome, everyone, to the best sports gambling show on the planet. This is WagerTalk Today. I am your new host, Andy. We're going to have a bunch of free plays that we're going to be giving you out. Gianni's going to join us to tell us where all the sharp money is going to go. Krackman's going to join us. Then we're going to talk with Bryan Power, Bryan Leonard. We're going to go over NBA and NHL. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Go ahead and hit the like button. Before we get to Gianni, though, it's kind of a new look and a new era of WagerTalk Today. So I just wanted to go over some things and talk about some of the new things that you can expect from the show. There's going to be a few things that we want to focus on. And I'll be honest, guys, the very first one is transparency. We need to talk about losses more on this show. We need to talk more about what we're running good in and what we're running cold in. The best handicappers on the planet hit 58% of their bets. That means 42% are losses, and we should talk about them more. We don't need to hide losing. It's part of the business. Losing streaks happen. It's okay. But we've talked a lot behind the scenes, and we just all agree that as an industry and as a company, we need to be more careful about what we're promoting, and we need to be a lot more honest and transparent with what's going on with our plays. Any bettor that takes this business serious, that takes their bankroll like a business, knows that there's going to be wins or losses, and we shouldn't be afraid to talk about that. So we're going to work on that moving forward. We're going to try and increase the transparency and honesty, and we'll work forward. We'll work hard on that moving forward. We're also going to talk about bankrolls. We're going to talk about specific money and specific units, and we're going to give you guys all the tools you need. These are going to be free. Spreadsheets are not fun and sexy, but they are necessity to build wealth. And we're going to provide you guys with all of those tools and information at the end of this show. I'll show you how I do my end of the month bankroll reset, and we'll move on from there. But we need to talk a little bit more about units and money in specific. We can talk about those things. We've got some new segments. Some of the segments are going to be with the WagerTalk handicappers. Some are from guests not from WagerTalk. We're going to bring back in a couple weeks the Unbreakable Sports Record Hall of Fame. If you guys remember that, me and my good friend Steve Seagrave used to do that. We're bringing that thing back. We're going to do Beat Art to Caesar and Beat Dave Mason, where they tell us what's the upcoming play that they can get beat really bad on. And then they tell us what did they beat the public or the sharps on. Thursdays, Kyle Anthony and I are going to do some live impromptu fight handicapping where we don't know the fights. And they're just going to give us some fights to handicap, and we're going to go from there. But overall, it's just going to be a lot of energy. It's going to be a lot of positivity. And shout out to you guys, the audience, because this is what we show up for every single day. It's you guys. And as always, the goal of WagerTalk Today is to try and make our bankrolls a little bit bigger today than they were yesterday. So thank you all for joining us. If you haven't liked and subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that now. Let's bring in Gianni. Listen, if we want to bring energy and positivity, Gianni's the man to do it. How you doing, brother? How was your weekend?
Never better, man. Never better. Just staying busy, real busy. That time of year, just so much going on with the playoffs. And UFC returned. I taped a couple shows for them right before the weekend on Friday. So just staying busy. It's a good thing. And I like what you said. Transparency's got to be key, first and foremost. That's what nobody talks about enough. And unfortunately, that's what everyone's going to have to deal with. Like, if you look at gambling Twitter, you would think everybody wins, and it's nothing could be further from the truth. It's just ridiculous. And I always tell my subscriber, that's why I love the Steam room. Until you learn to lose, you'll never know how to win. You'll never learn to win. That's the bottom line. Like, if you can't handle the losses, you're never going to be able to profit, because that's a part of the business. In fact, it's one of the few businesses on the planet that you could work an entire year and lose money. Like, that to some people doesn't register. Like, that just doesn't compute, that you work every single day for an entire year and your business lost money. But that's just the reality of being a sports bettor as a profession, as a living, or even just as an investment vehicle. You're going to have to deal with that. Like I say to all my guys, pull up any stock, and you're going to see some horrific quarters, some horrific years. I mean, you know, Amazon dropped almost 90+% at one point. Everybody was dumping except, you know, Bezos, his wife, and their one key investor. Everyone else was dumping their shares, thinking it's going to zero. That never happened. But you have to deal with that if you're ever going to have any kind of financial success. And unfortunately, that's the hardest part, because it's easy to do the right thing when you're running good. But when you get tested, Can you still do the right thing? Can you still bet size correctly? Can you still not chase? Can you still end the week down, pay off the bookmaker, then start the new week? Or do you have to stay there until you get even? Kind of like I tell the guys in blackjack class, if you have to play until you get even, this isn't for you yet. Like, you don't have the disposition and the discipline yet to be a winning blackjack player, even though you know the system. Because if you're not ready to walk out of there a loser, knowing you could come back tomorrow and fight again, you're going to run into a lot of problems. So great start to you taking over the show. And I think we need to focus more on the negative runs, how to deal with them, what to do, how to manage your bankroll so that when that does happen, you're still around and able to survive it. So that if you are truly plus EV, the law of big numbers is going to work in your favor. And eventually that will become profit. But if you can't get through the negative swings, you're never going to be there to turn a profit. And that used to happen to me. I had winning information, but I was never able to overcome any of those short-term losing streaks that we would go through, even moving for the best groups. And I'd be broke. They'd go on the hottest streak, but I didn't have any money to bet during that month, that 2 months that they were on fire. And then it would be rinse, repeat. I'd do it again and again and again, convincing myself when I finally get 30 dimes, when I get 50,000, I'll start doing it right. Bro, if you can't win with 1,000, you're not winning with 100,000. That's the bottom line.
Guilty. I've been there, done that, blew my bankroll many, many times before I learned how to manage it. You know, it's funny, like, everyone can go on winning streaks, but how do you handle the losing streaks? To me, that's what separates, you know, the guys that do this professionally. I do have to tell you, I was big on Petrovic, and you came on the show and you said, I think you should bet Gianni Miller. And I do a live show every UFC night. So I was really not liking you because the chat made it very, very clear that you were right and I was wrong. So I got to hear Gianni was better than you. Gianni
not wrong. Right. I almost used her as my 5%. And that's what was my mistake, because I felt as confident about her. And I even more so because I of the age. But I used Tate as instead. And I ended up losing. I had a losing night in MMA. So I might have been right on that fight. But I ended up losing money. Because I didn't have the best night, didn't manage risk correctly, even though with that win. So yeah, I got it right with Gianni Miller, but my bet on Tate did not come through. So tell you when I win, tell you when I lose. But Gianni Miller came through.
What a horrible fight, by the way.
Awful.
It was unwatchable. It was so bad.
Even when I knew she won, I was still holding my breath when they read the decision, because it's women's MMA. And the judges could say anything.
Well, like we say in my group, it's fine that we took a loss because now we get to bet against Gianni Miller again.
Next time out, yeah.
Yeah, next time out. So, all right, Gianni, Sharp Syndicates, where's the money at on this Monday?
All right, so far in NBA, this is all I've seen, and it hasn't been the group I work with, but other accounts I have access to. I saw the under 214 and 13.5 in the Knicks and Boston. Now, you got to remember, this has been an over series. I mean, Boston is 4-0 straight up, 3-1 against the spread against the Knicks this year. 3 of the 4 games have gone over, and the average closing line was 227. So this is a big adjustment. It's 13 points off the average of their 4 games during the regular season, and yet the betting syndicate still went under in that game. Same thing with Denver, Oklahoma City, but they went opposite. Opened the total at 222. Within 35 minutes, that was up to 235. I didn't get a piece of that over, but I do know sharp accounts that I am able to peek into. They went over 222, over 223, and 223.5, and then backed off. But that's why you're looking at 225. The average closing line in that series, they had 2 overs, 2 unders, 234. So on adjustment of 12 points, the average close from the regular season to what the playoff opener was. And they're betting it up closer to what that average number is. So that one makes sense. But the Knicks and Boston is the opposite, where the season series average closing line was 227. They come out 214 and it still gets bet under. So 2 totals in NBA, nothing in the NHL as far as Florida and Toronto goes. 3-1 to the under towards the season series. Florida owned them, won 3 of 4 games. I'm not seeing anything in any of the accounts, and I haven't seen anything really in the recreational accounts either. Like, it's kind of balanced. The guys that just bet NHL. But it's good two-way action. Just as much money on Florida as the slight home dog Toronto. So it's a good game to book because they're not going to have much risk when this one goes off, even from the total. Seeing good two-way action there. That's why not too much movement on the side or the total in Florida, Toronto.
Love it. Love it. Doesn't sound like we got like a ton of like, huge spots or, anything today. So Mike asked a great question, and this is right up our alley. He says, it's easy to keep bet sizing when he's winning, but when I lose a few games, I tend to press it thinking I'm due. How do you guys stay disciplined during that? Gianni, what would you tell Mike?
Great thought, because everybody feels that. Like, how cold could I stay? But it's almost like, how hot can I stay? Here's what you got to remember, and always remember this. Nobody's due. You're not due. Like in the long term, you're due, even if you're flipping a coin. You're down 50 units below 500, just flipping a coin. You're going to get back closer to even. With that said, the VIG is going to eat you up. But you got to lose that mindset of, I'm running hot, I can bet size more, or I'm running cold, I should bet size. You have to, you got to be robotic. The best traders in the world have rules and stick to them. Like, nothing's going to break their rule. You should already know your bet size before your day starts. In fact, I make my bet size when the year starts. This is my bankroll. This is what I'm betting. Nothing's going to change that. The only thing that's ever going to change that is if I double up my bankroll or lose it. That's it. Sometimes I used to adjust every 50%. If I increase my bankroll by 50%, then I'd retally, or if I decrease by 50%, I retally. The problem with that is when you do that, then what happens is you have to win twice as much to catch up once you start cutting your bet size in half. And because I've been able to replenish my bankroll, I always worked as if I had that original bankroll. So if you're in a position where you're able to replenish that bankroll, where you're working, you're able to save some money, then always bet as if that's your bankroll. But if not, then you do have to adjust. And I would adjust over and under every increase of 50% or decrease of 50%. Because, it's tough to, especially if you're a volume guy, to adjust every day or even every week. I just found too many problems doing that. So the best way I did it was, what is my risk of ruin? I talk about that all the time. Once you have an edge, you determine what your risk of ruin. Like, you can say, I want a 1% risk of ruin. That means I will double my bankroll 99 out of 100 times. The math allows you to do that, where you will not go broke, but you only lose your bank 1 out of every 100 times, which is very rare. But to do that, you need 1,000 units. So if you're betting $10 a unit, you need $10,000 to have a 1% risk of ruin. And who with $10,000 only betting, $10 a unit? But that's what you need for that kind of risk of ruin. And real quickly, not to go long, but just so you understand the difference, to have just a 40% risk of ruin, which means you're going to double up your bankroll 6 out of 10 times, but 4 out of 10 times you will lose it. So, you're better than a coin flip, but not all that much better. Dude, you need like 200, 250 units. So if you're betting, $10 a unit, you need $2,500 just to have a 60-40 shot in your favor. That's why I'm explaining. I try to push as much as possible to my guys that there's nothing more important than bet sizing. And 99 out of 100 sports bettors bet size incorrectly. Because again, 40% risk of ruin, you need 200 units. That's the math. That's not Ace telling you. So if you're betting $25 a unit, you need $5,000 just to know that you're going to double your bank 6 out of 10 times, but you will lose it that 4 out of 10. That, again, $5,000, $25 a unit. How many bettors out there with 5 dimes are betting $25 a unit? I can promise you, not many. Most with a $5,000 bankroll, they're betting a nickel a game, at least $250 a game. And because of that, the risk of ruin is so high, even if they have an edge, even if they're the best handicapper, like Andy said, at minus 110, if you're 58%, you're in the 0.0001 of the planet. Let's say you're that guy. You're still going broke. That math is not going to sustain you. You're going to have that cold streak where betting, $100 a unit when you only have $2,000 is going to wipe you out, regardless of having an edge. So please, 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 if you don't take anything else from this conversation, take that away, that do not overbet your edge, or else there's just no way to win. Bet small in relation to your bankroll. You'll sleep comfortably. You won't go broke, and you'll watch how to grow. Because again, this is your business. If you start a business with $5,000, what do you expect to make? How many businesses out there with $5,000? You're going to make $10,000 a year, $50,000 a year, $100,000 a year. But as gamblers, that's our mentality. I'm gambling. I should be making a score. So my 5,000, I want to make 100,000. Dude, live in the real world. In what world can you start a business with $5,000 that you're going to 20x it and sit in 12 months that you're going to make $100,000? If you start a business with $5,000 and at the end of the year, after paying all your expenses, you're left with $1,000 where you made 20% after all your overhead, dude, you're celebrating. You have a winning business. You have a profitable business. Now look forward to the next year and the next year and the next year. But if you tell someone with a $5 bankroll that after 12 months of betting, they're only going to be up $1,000, they're going to look at you like, $1,000? What am I going to do with $1,000? Well, keep losing that $5,000 and maybe that feels better. But for me, I'd rather win the 1,000 than lose the 5. But for some reason, gamblers just feel better losing the 5 than winning the 1.
Yeah, and these are the conversations I really want to have moving forward, Gianni. Like, this is so much better information than, I got a free play on the Maple Leafs game. If you don't build the foundation and have the rules and have the knowledge for this, it's just not going to be a long-term winning proposition. Yep. So we're going to talk about this. We have all the time in the world. Gianni's going to be on every day. So Gianni, tell everyone what you have up at Wager Talk before you go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll have today's baseball up for you probably within the hour. A couple plays we already moved on that I've been able to confirm and I like. Don't have anything in the playoff games unless something comes in, and hopefully we keep getting that college baseball that's doing damage throughout the day as well. So back to the grind, baby. Back to the grind.
Love it. Best of the business, Gianni. Thank you so much, brother. Have a great Monday. Appreciate you as always. Yeah. Guys, this is going to be perfect. A great conversation because at the end of the show, I'm going to show you how I do my end of the month bankroll reset. I will show you all of our numbers from April and how I reset my bankroll at the end of the month. And then we establish what our new unit size is. You can follow exactly what Gianni did. You can follow the steps that I do. But at the end of the show, we'll walk you through. And this is what I was talking about. You got to have spreadsheets. You got to have tracking. You got to have your numbers. But I will show you all how to do that. I make it very, very easy. And we will show you how to do that at the end of the show. So thank you very much for the question. And this is the kind of content that we're looking really, really forward to. Couple things that we have up at Wager Talk. The special this week, this is for any handicapper. Buy 2 weeks, get one free. This is a $100 discount. A week is $99. So you're going to get 2 weeks and you're just going to get the third week for free. That's less than $10 a day. Great time period of 3 weeks to try and invest in a handicapper. Maybe you haven't invested before, or that you've been thinking about it. 3 weeks is a pretty good spot, and it's a pretty good length of time to see what they can do. Like Gianni says, can't guarantee we're going to win tonight. 1 week, I can't guarantee that. You give me 3 weeks, you give us 30 days. I think I like our chances to do that. So 21 days for the cost of 14. That is site-wide over at Wager Talk. And for myself, you could use the promo code Andy30. That gets you 30 days for $199. Again, we'll talk about, we've won 15 out of the last 18 months. We'll show you how we do the bankroll reset. And if you guys want to follow along, this is a perfect time because it's the beginning of the month and you can get 30 days and you can help build your bankroll using the same system and plays that we did. So we'll talk about the percentage of plays and we're going to talk about flat betting versus percentage betting. And you know what? Let's bring in Krackman. I want to get his take on this, on some of the percentages. Bill, hey. Flat bet. How are you, man? Flat bet. Do you have bigger bets, smaller bets?
Well,
where you're at
further
right now?
on Gianni, very good bankroll management, and the human condition though is made up of, we're taught from very little, when we're very little, to win at checkers and Monopoly and Operation and Life and all these games. So we get mad when we lose, and of course now when we get mad, what do we want to do? We want to get even. So you just want to end the day even. It's the reason why all these factories here in Vegas are built, because everyone just wants to get even. God, let me get even. I'm done gambling for the day or the week or the month or life. So, and then of course the next day brings you right back in. It's the human condition. So yes, I am a 1 to 2% guy, just like Gianni was kind of saying there. And, I think he was saying 10,000. For 10,000, 1% is $100. So you don't want to scare people away when thinking 10,000, you're only betting $10. No one's going to bet. So, so literally, if you have $1,000 bankroll set aside for gambling, not for going to the movies, going to a dinner, buying your wife a blouse, $1,000 just for gambling, then yes, you should be betting. I say 1 to 2%. Once in a while, 2.5%, maybe 3% on something, which is only 30 grocery dollars. Think about that. Now, of course, we grew up with guys where I grew up back east. They're firing everything they have. They have $1,000. They're betting $330 per game. I mean, it just, no matter what, even though they know I'm a winning gambler, even though they know that I paid taxes on sports betting wins for 3 decades, it doesn't matter because they want to come up with the winner. They want to pat themselves on the back. Hey, look what I did. You want to know something? That's not what Bill Krackman does. I handicap the handicappers. As you guys see on WagerTalk on the videos, I didn't know. I don't know a lot about horse racing. I referred and deferred, I should say, to one of the best guys in the world. Guys that I know have been thrown out of race books. There's not many. All horse players are losers, losing degenerates, broken down. I mean, I know such a good man that has made money in sports, but lost it somewhere else. One of them is horse racing. So he did come through with that winner, and I had no idea it was going to pay that much, though. I thought it was going to be like a $10 horse. So I didn't even really bet too much on it, but I did bet it. But anyway, going back to life and going back to the sports betting, and you have to keep bankroll management. It's listen, how hard is it for us as humans, especially if we grew up any of these areas, New York, Philadelphia, Detroit, Washington, any of these cities, and it doesn't have to be specific to that. I'm just thinking of the guys I know. You know how hard it is to lose, even in a casino, in one of these giant factories, leave losing when you have more money in your pocket? It's almost impossible. Again, just get even. This is the reason why the factories are built. It's impossible. But so to further expand on what he said, though, and now your bankroll, as your bankroll grows, your bet size grows. So if you have $1,000, you're betting $20 a game. When it goes to $2,000, it's $40. And what do you think I started with? I started with nothing, literally nothing. I sent $500 to 2 sports books back in the early mid-90s. And literally, that's all the money I really had for sports betting was the $500. They matched the deposits. There's good bonus offers out there. That's how I started with $1,000. There's nobody you're going to meet, nobody that has worked more blue-collar jobs than me. I've done everything. So when someone took me and shook me and showed me advantage sports betting, I was betting with tons of local guys. I've been thrown out of thousands of people. Say to me, why do you sell games? Some people just get mad you sell games. Why? Come over here to Vegas and see what happens. I'm thrown out of Caesars. I'm thrown out of Treasure Island. I'm thrown out of Boyd. I'm backed off from just so many sports stations. These are the sports books. They've thrown me out. I didn't do nothing wrong. I didn't do nothing illegal. Using my brain. That's the reason why I'm thrown out. It's the reason why thousands and thousands of bookmakers have thrown me out of the accounts over the years when I used to play back east, when I didn't live in Vegas. And now playing with a bookmaker is pretty dangerous because guess what? It's the opposite of what it was. Years ago, you had to worry about the players paying if you were a bookmaker. Now, you have to worry about the bookmaker paying. You want to know why? Every swinging dick over in the Bellagio, they're all sports bettors. I'm sorry, they're all bookmakers. Every one of them. You go to a poker game, there's always one of these kids that think they're a bookmaker until you win $1,200 and they don't pay you. So I don't know if you're allowed to curse. I usually don't curse. Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Bill, I want to get to you. You have a great player prop coming up in a game, but I had to tell you. So obviously the Kentucky Derby, and I saw on Twitter somebody was celebrating their win. They were like, "Oh, I picked the winner," and it was like plus 550, and they bet $100 on it. And they were like, big winner." And then I went and looked, and they posted their plays. Well, they didn't take their losses into account. They lost money.
That's nice.
Even though they hit the winner, they walked away like losing money. It was like
transparency is the key to everything.
Oh,
I'm too transparent, they say. Last month I had a losing month, but I won 9 months in a row. And people are saying that other shows I do, they say, Bill, don't really talk about your losing month. Well, guess what? Fire me then. Get me off the network because that's what I do. I'm too transparent. That's what I talk about. You said it before. 58% winners. Oh, my God. If I win 55%, bookmakers are looking to chop my head off. So, and I do.
I love the player prop. You and I have a love for props. It's, one of the only things I bet in the NBA. I love your player prop for tonight. Tell us about it. We're talking Derek White.
Yeah, it's funny. I wrote up a couple different things. For you guys. I was surprised to look at this series line on the Knicks and stuff, and I'm talking about the Knicks Celtics. I see like -9 to 1 to win the series, but I'm expecting a close, competitive more competitive than that. But I can't take the dog either, though. You know, sometimes these underdogs are so tough to take in these spots. You know, but then again, I'm not going to lay with these big favorites too. This series has a potential to go 7 games, though. I don't like betting NBA sides, but I'll tell you what, the +9 seems like a lot of points to be given the Knicks in this game 1. The only thing I've got, like you said so far, Celtics, Derek White, over 23.5 points, assists, and rebounds. White is over the number here in all 4 games versus the Knicks this season. And, you know, people say to me, over? How can you bet over? Don't you bet under? No, because you have to evolve. Bookmakers have evolved too with their lines. They know people bet under, so they adjust the numbers, sometimes over adjust. So I expect him over. Another solid game versus New York tonight, game 1. I'm going to go over on his points, assists, and rebounds.
Love it. Yeah, he's just. I think this is a nightmare series for the Knicks. The Celtics got just so many guys to throw at Brunson and some of those other guys. And yeah, Derek White, he's like one of the few healthy starters that they have. So yeah, you're taking it over on one of the healthiest starters that Boston has, Bill. Absolutely. I did have to laugh. I watched a video of you on social media talking about free hot dogs.
Oh,
which was riveting. It was an amazing story. It was so good. So if you guys have a chance,
yeah, that tweet I put up, I was on a show called VSiN Downtown where I do Thursdays, and you know, it's just so stupid. Some of these casinos, the people that make decisions for these casinos, they don't gamble, so they don't know the pulse of the casino. So they want to take away the free hot dogs from the seniors. The seniors got pissed off. They like revolted. I mean, they want to, and now they want to, like, they had drawings. They didn't want to give away the money. Like, how dumb. It's just, you know, you have guys with college degrees on the wall. I always say it. Give me someone with street smarts, common sense, decision-making skills over any college degree from any college in the world.
It was such a great story. I was like, I can't believe I just watched the entire thing. But yes, follow Bill on social media and you'll hear him telling the story about the hot dogs and the senior citizens revolting. It really was great. Bill, what do you have up at Wager Talk for everyone this week?
Yeah, listen, I'm a terrible self-promoter. I said it last week too on the show. Listen, I am. I'm a terrible self-promoter. Listen, I'm just tell you this. If this is a grind, Gianni said it good. I know one thing. I got thrown out of all these places for one thing: winning. You can, please go ask the sports book. Go ask Caesar's director why you threw me out. Go ask all these guys. Ask stations why they threw me out. For winning. That's all. Nothing else. So in the end, I know one thing: I'm going to win. It's a grind for sure. Baseball season, absolutely. However, we always grind out a profit. I can't wait though for preseason football. I know we're talking about this in May. That is a season that's I really can't wait for. But however, first 5 innings, I like betting first fives. I like betting some baseball sides. Good information, grind out stuff. Make sure you have more than one sports book, though. I'll tell you right now, here in Vegas, there's not one sports book with 10-cent lines. Your local guys, though, demand 10-cent lines from your local guys. Just say, hey, listen, my other guy's giving me 10-cent lines. I want a 10-cent line. What that means is minus $1.40, come back $1.30. That's what baseball should be. Not one sports book in this town is 10-cent lines. It's embarrassing. It's a shame. They have conditioned this new breed of gambler to bet more juice and lay more juice, and they just want to destroy everybody. Demand 10-cent lines.
Love it. Bill Krackman, thank you so much. Gambling legend. Thank you for your insights. Good luck on your plays today, Bill. All right. We talked a little bit about the Knicks and the Celtics. I've got a breakdown for everybody. We're going to take a look at Boston -9 with the over-under 212.5. So do we think the Knicks can cover? Do we like the over-under? I am going to lean towards a side in this one. We mentioned the Celtics are dealing with some injuries, but it's been almost a week since their last game. So Holiday, Brown, Tatum, they're all starting tonight. That's a big week of rest for them. And the Knicks closed out Detroit on Thursday. I just didn't think they looked that great. And I had a series bet on the Knicks to win that series. And I was nervous. I thought they didn't look that good. Brunson, everything was on his shoulders. And you look at their bench was just not contributing very much at all. So everything falls on the shoulders of these starters. I'm concerned about the Knicks offense outside of Brunson, the consistency of Towns, or the lack of consistency from Hart. These guys aren't making threes. They are big time liabilities on defense. And what's concerning is in the 16 teams that made the playoffs in that first series, they were 11th in offensive rating. And Detroit's not a great defensive team. So to be outside the average in offense in the first series against Detroit is a bit concerning. Boston was third, and that was against a good defensive team in Orlando. Knicks were 0-4 against Boston in the regular season. And I went back and looked this up because I had this memory of last year that Boston was really good in games 1 of the series. And they were against Orlando. They won by 17 points. Last year in the first round, game 1, 20-point win against Miami. Round 2, game 1, 25-point win against Cleveland. Conference finals, that went to overtime. They did win by 5 points. But then the NBA finals, game 1, 18-point win against Dallas. Boston's getting healthy. They're rested. They do really, really well in the first game of a series. I'm going to take Boston -9. I think they lay the hammer to the New York Knicks. All right, guys, let's talk with Bryan Power. Bryan, you, my friend, you have the video of the week. I mean, it is everything that you want in a social media video. It was tongue in cheek. You had an animal involved.
What kind of story? What kind of show have you made this, Andy Lang? My God.
Bryan did his Kentucky Derby pick sitting on, was that a pony? That was a
Yes, it was my wife's pony, and I don't appreciate that comment right there, Uncle Steve.
It was great. You had the hat. You had the hat on as well. It was absolutely amazing. So, Bryan, how was your weekend, brother?
It was good. Yesterday was good, I should say. The Derby, we made a fun video. That was nice to do. Oh, there it is. There you go. Yeah, that's JoJo, my wife's pony, not a horse.
Okay, we're going with number 21, Baeza. Yeah, there's some concerns, inexperienced start for the outside, but
it's so great. So besides that, how was your weekend?
Yeah, we had a nice Derby party. Baeza did win, finished third in the money at least, but Derby we didn't get the pick obviously. But Sunday we had a nice bounce back in soccer. Truth be told, Andy, I'll mention it now because we're talking about NBA and MLB. Those two sports weren't very good to me in the last week. But, 4 straight winning months overall to start the year. I think we'll bounce back. But soccer was very good. 2-0 sweep yesterday. And it's a pony, not a horse. I can read. This is great how I can see the comments of this thing. 2-0 in soccer with the 5% winner yesterday. So that was nice.
Let's go to MLB first, and then we'll break down the Nuggets and the Thunder. Reds and Braves. Both teams struggling a little bit here. Singer for the Reds. Been good his last 2 games. Smashava for the Braves, 4.26 ERA. I know you're looking at a total. What do you like in this game?
Yeah, I think this sets up to be an interesting series. I just want to give the people some background on how I view about these two teams, Andy, so far. I think many who follow me already know I'm a big believer in scoring differential being a better measure of performance than a team's actual win-loss record. That goes for any sport, not just baseball. But I would say this is a rare matchup for me, at least, where the respective run differentials are a bit misleading. The Reds plus 34 in run differential so far, but here's the thing. They had that one game, 24-2 win over the Orioles that skews things. One game like that has a tremendous effect, obviously, on a 35-game sample size. Meanwhile, the Braves, even after beating the Dodgers last night on Sunday Night Baseball, they're 3 games below 500, a -6 run differential. Still, Andy, I think they're a top 5 team in all baseball, despite being 3 games under 500. I would expect the Braves to play a lot better moving forward. Now, I know there's a lot of people that like to fade teams that just played Sunday night, but in this case, no travel for the Braves. It's the price more that scares me off them tonight. I know Bill just talked about, price and not wanting to, play favorites of this size regularly. And the other thing with Atlanta that I don't like is Smith-Shawver starting. He's got a 4.26 ERA and a 1.68 whip. Those numbers are not good, obviously. He's allowed a homer each of his last 3 starts. I don't really trust him going against the Reds lineup that is one of 7 in all of baseball to be averaging more than 5 runs per game. And you mentioned Brady Singer, Andy, starting tonight for the Reds. He's given up a homer in 4 straight starts. He often does get great run support, though. That's the thing. In the 6 games Singer has started so far, guys, the Reds have scored 42 runs, and that's even with them being shut out his last outing. Don't like either side here, but I do trust the lineups to score some runs. Over 8.5 is how I would play this series opener between the Braves and Reds.
Love it, Bryan Power. Let's go to the Nuggets and the Thunder. If you could write out a horrendous spot for a team. Could you plan it worse for the Denver Nuggets?
Not
One
good.
day rest. 1 day rest before they face the buzzsaw. Denver did have some success against OKC in the regular season, but how do you see the Denver Nuggets and Thunder game 1 going?
Yeah, I'm going to make this pretty short and sweet, and let's just put some numbers behind what we're both alluding to here, Andy. History says the Nuggets are up against it. Road underdogs in game 1, coming off a 7-game series and playing with 3 or less days rest. Just 4-19 straight up, 7-16 against the spread if their opponent has 4 or more days rest. And the Thunder, not only are they the best team in the league, they come into the series with 8 days of rest, Andy, after sweeping the Grizzlies in round 1. And of course, the Nuggets just played the game 7 on Saturday. So massive rest edge for OKC. Like I said, best team in the league by a pretty substantial margin in my power ratings. Best regular season point differential in NBA history. I know they played with their food a little bit in those 2 games at Memphis. I don't think that's going to be the case here. I made the line Thunder minus 10.5. So showing some value in addition to the trend that I just mentioned. I would lay it with OKC here in game 1.
Bryan Power, everyone. And listen, Brian, I really appreciate you said, hey, I'm not running super hot in these sports. And that's okay. We can talk about that, but we also need to talk about what you're running great in. And listen, number 1 in soccer on this website last 365 days is absolutely something that you should brag about. And it's something that people should invest in. That's a real long-term result. So tell us about the special that you have up at WagerTalk and about your soccer.
Yeah, and it's not just number 1 over the last 365 days, Andy. We're seeing it really well right now. 9-1-1 the last 11 releases. I mentioned when I first came on, had a 5% winner yesterday. Real nice. People were a winner by 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. Not too often you can say that. We had Lazio. They scored a goal by the time my alarm went off. It was 6:30 in the morning. I looked at my phone. They were already up 1-0. That's nice. So the special offer, you get 30 days of soccer for only $99. That'll take you to the end of the domestic league seasons in Europe, all the cup finals as well. I have a play on Monday, wt.buzz/BP is obviously where you go to get it. And 42.1 units in all sports since February 19th. So I'm confident we're going to turn around baseball and the NBA as well after just a rough week. So there you go. And I'll have NBA and baseball up here in just a little bit. Going to post it as soon as I'm done talking to you.
All right, Brian. Thank you so much, brother. Really, really appreciate it. It's Bryan Power, everyone. Listen, if you haven't hit the like button, please do that. We just had some really, really good talk from Gianni and from Bill. These are guys that have been doing it for a long time. Please just hit the like button. And if you have not subscribed to the channel, subscribe. That way you get notified whenever our breakdown videos are live. We do UFC videos every week. We do golf videos every week. And of course, it's NBA and NHL playoffs. You're going to get notified when those videos come up. So subscribe to the channel and at least hit the like button. It takes 1 second. Let's get to 100 likes today on my first show, guys. Really, really appreciate it. Justin, Dan, we can pull up Justin's comment about being number 1. One thing I would love to change is everyone being number 1, depending on how you manipulate the data. Fair point. I agree with you most of the way. I'm going to agree with you that when we use stats like I'm number 1 the last 17 days, that's kind of weird. I'm perfectly fine with saying I'm number 1 in a sport for the season. I'm fine with like number 1 last 365 days. Of course, we have bragging rights here when you're on top of the leaderboard, on the 3 and the 7 and 30 days. It is something I would like to cut down just a little bit. I've tried to do that a little bit myself. But at the same time, there's a lot of handicappers on the site. Being number 1 is something we should be proud of. That's something we should talk about. That's a real claim to fame. So we're going to try and make it a little bit more. I don't know. We're going to try and make it a little bit more, less detailed with the number 1 thing. So we're going to work on that. But when we're number 1 long term, or we're number 1 over a year or a season, we're going to talk about that. So appreciate that. Yes, that is something that we're going to address. Buy 2 weeks, get 1 free is the special. It's $100 off. You're getting a free week and you can use it on any handicapper, including Bryan Leonard, who we're going to bring in. We're going to talk a little baseball and NHL. Brian, we're going to talk about the Panthers and the Leafs. I think we did a good job on our timing today, Brian. I didn't get any messages, my friend. So how was your weekend?
Very good. And I agree with the everybody talking about being number 1. And with that, I will say I'm number 1 all time in Major League Baseball and number 1 all time in NHL hockey. And I don't think anybody really cares. It's not like I'm getting more sales on those sports than anybody else. I see other people get on there and they said, yeah, but what have you done for me lately? So I understand what he's saying, but really, who knows? Who knows what would make somebody buy a play? If you're looking for long-term results, I do, but other people don't. They're looking for whoever's got the big play now. And so it's a tough position for everybody, but as long as they're not lying about what happened, then, you can't complain, I guess.
Let's talk a little bit about the Panthers and the Leafs. Panthers minus 170 in the series. That seems like a pretty big price, but I guess it makes sense. Florida, just won 3 out of the 4 games against Toronto in the regular season. What's your take on this series, and in particular game 1?
Yeah, I like Florida in game 1 here. The Panthers once again proved they're very tough out in the playoffs. They dominated that Tampa Bay team, who many thought was going to win the series and possibly go on and represent the East. Florida held a 51.75 expected goal share in 5-on-5 play, and they won that game. They won that series in 5 games, which is very impressive. That gives them one extra day to prepare for the Maple Leafs, who had a 3-0 series lead and played around it with Ottawa and put some doubt in everybody's mind. Despite winning the series 4-2, Toronto only had an expected goal share of 5-on-5 of 47.93. And keep in mind that Florida played the much tougher team. Comparing the 2 losing teams, Tampa Bay had a plus 75 goal advantage during the regular season, while Ottawa was just plus 9. So the Florida victory in less games was very impressive. Florida has gone to the Stanley Cup Championship 2 seasons in a row. Nobody has more experience with deep playoff runs than these Panthers. They won 3 or 4 meetings, as you mentioned, during the regular season with the Maple Leafs. Florida is a very physical team that takes high-quality offensive teams out of their rhythm and dictates the pace, and that's what they've done against Toronto. This talented Toronto team scored just 7 total goals in those 4 games against Florida. Believe me, I'm a Vegas Golden Knights fan, and Florida was the best team last year. They could have been the best team 2 years ago when the Knights won the championship. This is a well-coached team. They know how to win in the playoffs. And what's the big drawback about Toronto? It's an offensive team that struggles in the playoffs. I like Florida tonight, and I like Florida to win this series.
Yeah, Andrew has a play of their Panthers game 1 and the series, so it looks like you got some agreement on that one. We're going to talk the Mariners and the Athletics, and then after this, Bryan has prepared something for us, NBA playoff handicapping versus regular season handicapping. So stay tuned for that. Not free plays, but more important, some better tips on how to handicap these plays. Mariners and Athletics 1-2 in the American League West. Wow. Athletics won 4 out of 5. Mariners won 6 out of 7. Very interesting that this is a big game today. How do you see this game going?
It is a big game, and it's a really tough scheduling spot for the A's, who played in Miami yesterday and had to travel cross country to face Seattle tonight. I spoke with Adam Trigger about this. He's one of the 3 of us who have our show Total Bases, and we like to break down each and every game. And he was nice enough to send me something today. It's bringing this to my attention. And he said this is likely to be a common theme for them all season long, is Sacramento shares their ballpark with the A's, and the minor league baseball team doesn't play on Mondays. They don't play a lot of minor league baseball on Mondays. So that means the A's get that stadium all to themselves on Mondays, which means Sundays to travel going from the East Coast to the West Coast. Keep in mind for that for the rest of the season, especially when you take a look at makes matters worse. The last 2 games in Miami were decided in the last inning. So those were high-intensity games, high-pressure games, and now they have to travel all the way out west and take on Seattle here. Seattle's had 2 of the last 7 days off, so they should be the much fresher team. They also enter off an embarrassing 8-1 defeat in Texas. Bryce Miller takes the mound. He's got a 3.52 ERA and a high 1.43 WHIP. His control has been terrible thus far with a 14.7 walk percentage. League average is 6.6. His 17th percentile ground ball rate is also a concern in this homer-happy stadium. Luis Severino has been solid this season with a 3.30 ERA, 1.17 whip. His barrel percentage is in the 70th percentile, while his walk rate is in the 66th percentile. And because he wasn't going to pitch in Miami, he's likely been sent back to Sacramento early, so that travel will not affect him, but it will affect all of the batters. When it comes to hitting, Seattle's second in the league with the WRC plus of 125. Sacramento is eighth at 110. The Mariners' key relievers had yesterday off, while Sacramento has had heavy bullpen usage as of late. This is the 14th straight game for the A's without a day off. It's going to reach 16 before the off day on Thursday. Look for the Mariners to be a much fresher team, as this line comes out a bit cheap when you consider the travel situation for the A's here. I thought that was a cheap number, and I'm going to play Seattle.
Love it. Let's talk a little NBA playoff handicapping versus regular season handicapping. We got 4 tips that everyone needs to keep in the back of their heads, and these are tips that you follow in your handicapping. So walk us through that, and then tell us what you have up at WagerTalk.
Well, I used to I got my start 40 years ago doing NBA handicapping out of Cleveland, and had a lot of success. Well, it's a totally different sport now than it used to be. The difference between NBA playoff handicapping and regular season handicapping really comes down to 4 key elements. First off, no load management in the playoffs. Hurt players continue to play. You know who's going to be on the roster. You know who's going to get minutes. That really helps you out in the playoffs. The second thing is no schedule advantages. How many times do we see teams play third game in 4 days, second of a back-to-back, a team that's been rested 2 days in a row? It all breaks even in the playoffs as both teams have the same scheduled advantages. Coaching is also much more important in the playoffs, as adjustments have to be made between every game. Your teams with really good coaches can make those adjustments here, while in the regular season, they got to worry about 81 other games they're playing, and you don't have to make adjustments until the next time you see that team. And by that team, half the time, it's not the same team. There have been injuries and trades, so you have to take that a little bit differently in regular season as opposed here to the playoffs. And another thing is, and I'm a big motivational guy, the motivation is the same in the postseason. In the regular season, if you get a good team off of a couple of losses and they had a day off playing a team that's not playing well, that team that's the better team will dominate. In the playoffs, it's the same for both teams. You have the same situation with the rest. And if the team looked bad, they've got extremely more motivation in the upcoming game, which is why over the years, the zigzag theory has done very well. The lines makers caught up with that for the most part. But those are the reasons why you win in playoff handicapping as opposed to the regular season.
Love it, Brian. You mentioned number 1 lifetime in not 1, but 2 sports at WagerTalk. What do you have up for clients today? Looking forward to this week. What can clients expect?
Yeah, around a nice 8-2 run. I did lose my first NBA playoff game yesterday as I had Cleveland in the first quarter, a team that has dominated first quarters. They'd lost the last 2 games to Indiana when they'd already locked up the playoff spot, the number 1 spot. So those games they didn't really have any interest in. I thought Cleveland come out and play. But, hey, when you're hitting 60% in the first half, 53% three-pointers in the entire game, it's going to be tough to win those games. So we did suffer that loss on a smaller play yesterday. But I do have 3 plays up for clients today, all 3 for my extended service clients, and I have 1 that I put out for daily clients. It's a big 4% play in Major League Baseball, and we're on a really nice run in baseball right now, 83% run in baseball. And as you know, Andy, I play a lot of underdogs in baseball, so on a real nice run. Hopefully you get that 4% play. We can keep that going today.
Absolutely, Brian. Thank you so much, Bryan Leonard. Great information, great plays. You can get 2 weeks of Bryan Leonard's play, and you get 1 week free. You can use that on any handicapper. Just go to the deals page, and you can find that. All right, let's talk about our bankroll reset. This is what I do every month. Now, these are things that we put in our Discord, and this is how I do my bankroll. So we're going to do this every Monday, and we're going to do this at the end of each month. So what I do is at the end of each month, I do a full deep dive with all of the records of all of the plays. And our goal is to be profitable at the end of the month. So April is a really, really good example of why we look at a month and not just 1 week anymore. We used to do it just by week. Now we're looking really hard at a month. Our first 2 weeks of April were lights out. They were awesome. The last 2 weeks of April were bad. We lost units, but we ended up profitable. We ended up 20.1 units in profit in the month. So what we do is at the end of the month, we have a chart. This is free for everybody. This is a spreadsheet where we look at what is our bankroll total at the end of the month, and that's our unit size for the next month. So you can look and see here. This is a bankroll that we started with $10,000. We used to do this reset every week. We moved it to every month. So now on week 91, we are at 65,856. We added the 20 units there. So now this establishes our new bankroll. Our bankroll is 65,856. What's 1%? Well, you're looking at $658 for 1% plays. Me personally, I flat bet. I like betting 2% of my bankroll. I'm going to talk more and more about flat betting versus the percentage betting, but it works great for me. So at the end of each month, that's how I establish what the new bankroll is and what the new unit size is. You can pick any period of time. Like Gianni said, he likes doing it for a year. Me personally, I like doing it for a month. The key is be consistent. Don't change it week to week, month to month. Pick a system and stay with it. So that's going to be our bankroll reset. If you guys have any questions, leave it in the comments section, leave in the chat, or join the Discord. Myself and all the guys on our team are in there. We're happy to answer any questions. We have free spreadsheets in there for you to set up your own tracking for your own plays or for our plays, your bankroll reset spreadsheet. That's free in there as well. So if you guys have any questions about that, it's not fun, it's not sexy, but it is essential if you want your bankroll to be a business. So, all right, guys, thank you so much. This is my first day hosting. You guys got me over 100 likes. You guys absolutely rock. I really appreciate that. Make sure you take advantage of these specials. When we run these specials, we run them specifically for you guys to take advantage of what's coming up next. So my promo code is Andy30. That gets you 30 days knocked down to $199. Again, we say give us a month, and we like our chances to be profitable. We've been profitable 15 out of 18 months. If you're looking to use that special for buy 2 weeks, get one free, that is good for any handicapper. If there's a handicapper you want to lock up for the next 3 weeks, you're going to get a free week. It ends up being less than $10 a day. And the beautiful thing, if your handicapper doesn't have plays on that specific day, that day gets added on to the end. So it's buy 2 weeks, get 1 week free of days that there are plays on. So if we ever pass, that day gets added on. All right, hit the like button, subscribe. You guys rock in the chat. Can't wait to do this again tomorrow. Good luck on your bets, and we'll see everyone on Tuesday.